Welcome, welcome back.
Hey, 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 peace and blessings.
It's Cameo and Ayden, and we are here for another episode. I think we need to figure out a name. Maybe we can ask for some of our viewers. Not that we don't have many viewers yet, but somebody can help us name this podcast at some point.
Yeah,
Um, Everybody's got a name. I was thinking Science of the Soul, but I'm sure that probably exists somewhere. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, how's your day today, Bubba?
day's been well, been blessed. Back home now, resting and recovering. I'm taking naps, enjoying my Labor Day.
Oh,
So,
I love a good nap. Oh,
yes.
yes, it is Labor Day. So happy Labor Day to those who labor. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing to celebrate. I've always thought Labor Day was a weird holiday to celebrate. What do you
Very
think?
much. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, like, a lot of the holodays, Memorial Day, Labor Day, um, Thanksgiving, it's all, it's just like, what are we celebrating again? You're supposed to be thankful, honoring. What do we?
Yeah.
You say happy for everything, even if it's not such a happy day in historical sense. Mr. Brown,
Right, right.
Mr. Brown doesn't subscribe to holidays.
Hey,
He's just
Brown. Say hey, Brown Brown.
kind of blur out his face. He's gonna.
See, get my camera. One of these days I'll get my camera together. We'll get this together here in a minute. But anyway, so all right. We want to jump right in. We left off last week's conversation talking about the post nut clarity and how a lot of times in life, uh, I think we got on the post nut clarity topic because we were talking about
Coming out.
postpartum depression. We were talking about doing things that we think or feel will have a certain outcome for us energetically or a certain outcome for us emotionally. And then when that doesn't happen, we experience you know negative, what we would perceive as
Just
negative
call it
experiences,
unalignment.
negative
To
emotions.
get right into it, I would just call it unalignment because whenever you have what we consider post nut clarity, you're out of phase with your previous self, which is about 25 minutes ago, maybe even 2 minutes ago, with your current self, and the energy shift is forcing you to come to grips with not only your actions but your own internal state, your spiritual state. So
Mm,
yeah, turn this.
okay. So let's about though, because you were talking about, I think you also had made a comment on the last, kind of towards the last. We want to just kind of sort of pick up where we left off, but you commented that a person should be able to go 2 or 3 months or longer, really, without having uncontrollable sexual urges, I guess you could say. And essentially, what I'm picking up is that post-nut clarity is the clarity you receive after you do something wild that you shouldn't have done, but more so when you were out of control. And I don't know, out of control is kind of a strong word, but you just couldn't control yourself. And you even, like you said, started seeing things differently.
Would
The
say there
person
was
at the
a
club looks more attractive than they really are.
yeah, for me, I would say that post nut clarity is a result of the internal conflict that is already present before the action was taking place. So before you went and talked to that chick, before you went and talked to that guy, before you went and laid down, before you went in, took a drug, I'm saying, post binge clarity, there is a certain conflict where one side of your shoulder and the other side are saying two different things. And so once one gets their urge off, once one is now happy and satisfied, let's just say the devil,
Yeah.
the other side is like, hey, hey, hey. And now everything's so much clearer because you don't have those
Hmm.
interconnected or you don't have those conflicting sides of yourself.
And that's a good point you bring up too about post binge clarity. It's like, and binging is often the numbing out, the NPC behavior, but post binge clarity, anytime I ever binged out or did something, I always felt like, oh God, why did I do that? Like
we can even relate it to like screen time. You know, screen time a lot of times because I was watching this video about this antisocial era that we're in, uh,
Mhm.
post 2010s, especially post 2020, that they've completely eliminated the social aspect of people's days to where people are like spending 20% less time socially in real life interacting with other people. And so you have these dopamine dumps whenever you get home, whenever you're scrolling on your phone, and there's this new trend where people are now dancing and celebrating when their friends cancel on them because now they can go home, they can go sit in front of their couch, in front of their TV, and just
I feel judged right now.
no judgment here. I'm just saying it's a new thing. That this is now only at this point in history have humans actually celebrated being isolated and having more time to themselves to just be depressed, sad, and anxious. Because that's usually what ends up happening. You may not feel like that when you get canceled on, because it's like, oh, I get to just, binge watch my Netflix show. But over time, after 20 years of that, you're going to become very sad in a way.
Constantly being counseled on, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
not because you're
I
getting
can
canceled, but
honestly
because you don't
say
have
that
access to
in
people.
I can honestly say that in some of my, um, former friend circles that I did feel, I guess you could say, I mean, it didn't make me feel bad about myself or feel lonely or anything like that, but it just made me feel like I don't need to give you any more of my time if you're not really giving me your time. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, if this is not what we're doing, if you're not going to support me in the same way that I show up and support you, then yeah, okay. But I don't feel bad about it just because I understand human nature and understand how people are. And I understand that all relationships, I don't care if it's mama, daddy, whatever, all relationships are transactional. And so even the parent-child relationship, a child is going to expect the parent to love them, provide shelter, all these different things. And in return, the parent expects the child to love them and show them love in whatever ways people are
Not
programmed
just
to show
love.
love in our society.
They want love, honor, and respect, like you said, in their specific ways. So a child may be showing love in a way that they deem appropriate, but if that parent doesn't receive it as such, it's considered disrespect. It's considered lack
Mhm.
of appreciation for whatever's been done.
Mhm.
And
But
so,
that trend, like I said, that transaction, like a lot of people think that when I used to make that comment that relationships are transactional, a lot of people thought that I was really only referring to romantic relationships or friendships, but the family relationship is very transactional. When family does, a lot of people they feel very throwed off, I guess you could say. I can't even find the right word, but they feel very thrown off when family does not support them in the way that they feel like they should be supported. Hey, I've been here, I participate in this family. I give my time, energy, and assistance to this family in whatever way that looks like. And I expect in return that the family should, be supportive of me or be there for me when I need them or um in some cases, loan me money when I need it, or you let me sleep on their couch when I need to, or, all these different things that we turn to family for. That is the part of the transaction. So a lot of people have some of their trauma comes from failed transactions. I could call it failed relationships, but it's really failed transactions. It's the
they're chargebacks.
here and at this point in my life and this point in my life and this point in my life you failed to meet the transactional requirement, whatever that was. I know
It's called a
personally I
chargeback.
have huh?
A chargeback. You swipe your card and then they
I
say
charge back my energy. You gotta
that's
pull
why you
pull that back.
sign at restaurants because it's saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
there's someone came in with this card and agreed, and they signed off. So no matter what you try to say after the fact, you were here, you were present, and you ate this food or you got this product or service." And so we don't
Yeah,
do that in real life and family and friendship because we shouldn't have to. It should just be based on energy and love and all these, kumbaya. But in real life, people are keeping track in your head, and your ego keeps track because your ego
right.
associates.
That keeping track, that's another clear sign that relationships are transactional because if you weren't keeping track of all the things that I've done
Keeping score.
versus against the ledger of all the things you haven't done, that's a transaction. The debits and the credits. They talk about filling up filling up your cup. You can't pour, you can only pour from the overflow. And some people will, they talk about how they just take, take, take. They're not giving anything back. When they say that, that means they're not fulfilling the transaction. The giving back is the transaction. The um some parents don't I know some parents don't fool with their children if they don't give them what they want or need, as far as honor and respect, and those types of things, because that's part of the transaction. That's what they're expecting. That, hey, if I give you, if I wipe your butt when you're little, and I feed you, and I do all these things, house you, and I do all these things for you, I expect you to give me back in return a certain level of respect, certain, recognition, and all things of that nature. So it's just part of the programming.
It is. And so one of the things I feel like that becomes very complicated with this, let's go to like Christmas, for example. For most people, or I'm not gonna say most people, for a lot of people that grow up in households that value Christmas, the pagan holidays, and gift giving as a form of capitalistic exchange, that like that transaction, it can become very problematic when you have people with different values, things that don't align, and that's a very big way that people keep score because usually things roll from the top down. You know what I'm saying? Those that have the most money do the most giving, do
Hmm.
the hosting. People supposed to bring food. You got potlucks and things like that. But these systems are slowly dwindling down to becoming nothing more than just I don't even know what I want to call it because it's more than just a transaction. It's like it's a show. It's a gimmick.
Pomp and
It's
circumstance.
a gimmick. It's a gimmick. That's what it is. Because
It's entertainment.
it's entertainment and it's performance because it's not just about the product or the item that you get. It's not just about the card or the gift card and the words, the love, the hug. It's about the exchange and the act of receiving and giving that has been commodified to where they act like it's really about the love and what it was supposed to be about, but it's really just, hey, I'm giving you something. I want to watch you take something that I got and now it's yours and now I in a sense own you a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if I buy you something really big, let's say I buy my significant other, I get them a ring for the holidays. If I get them a promise ring or something, there's a certain expectation that comes with that now after this point things are going to be the same. If we
Yeah.
were having
That
any
promise
issues,
ring, that promise ring needs to turn into an engagement ring, needs to turn into,
not even
like,
just that, not even just that, but at this moment, if you felt like you weren't receiving enough, and I drop a certain amount of money, a certain amount of coins on this item, you are now supposed to shift your feelings away from that, and now add this to the totem pole, add this to the scoreboard. So you're not happy
yeah.
with the quality time, but I can make that up in money through items and gifts and jewelry. But that doesn't always
And that's how
equate.
most people, yeah. And the sad part is that most people are okay with it.
Yeah, because it's like we're all keeping score in different ways. So you have to put up points on their scoreboard. I'm not counting basketball goals. I'm counting soccer goals. I'm not counting touchdowns or hockey goals. I'm counting one type of score. So if you're not putting money on my table, whether it's paying for my rent, this is how a lot of women think nowadays, the modern women conversation that they have.
Mhm.
If you're not tricking, paying for rent, paying for my child because my baby daddy doesn't want to, or paying my bills that I don't want to pay, there's no need to talk to me. And I feel like it's so funny to see, especially people on social media where it's like, hey, this is my profile. I want you to know these things about me. I'm not going to tell you about who I am. I want you to know what I expect. And so there's a big shift now in my generation where instead of talking about what they have to offer, it's about what we expect. Don't come to me if you can't do A, B, C, and D, but I'm not going to tell you anything about myself. So it's kind of this like putting the mirror towards you, and it's like, you aren't enough. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
trickling into all relationships. Like, I don't want to be a friend with you if you ain't got no motion, you ain't got no bag. Like, why can't y'all get the bag together? Why can't y'all figure it out? Like, you want everything to be final by the time you get to these people. Like when you want married qualities out of people without marrying them. You want them to have the qualities before the commitment. It's not realistic because the transaction has to build. You have to get a ledger. You go through our Cash App history. with me and my best friends, there's thousands of dollars exchanged back and forth. But you want me to
Right.
just send you $2,000 and it's our first transaction? That don't work like that. It doesn't work like
So, okay, so if I could come up with a brief, like brief synopsis as it relates to the book, because we did not get into the book last time, and that's
that.
why we're here. It's an extension of the book, The Elephant in the Room, Understanding the Truth of Our Existence. So this post nut clarity is a part of understanding who we are. So what I surmise from what you said and just some of the offline conversations that we have is that before the orgasm, the body or the ego's the programming, the body that it's running on biological programming, right? Hormones, instincts, and impulses, things of that nature.
Mhm.
But right after the orgasm, the programming releases its grip for a moment, giving you a sudden window of clarity where one can see things without the fog of lust. Right? This like it's like a momentary glitch where it shows how much of our like our real human behavior, and we don't really like that. Like, is that good? Can we?
That's a perfect way of thinking about it. Well, that's a perfect way of describing it because that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
The programming, there's always like whenever you have a computer system, it's not just one program. Like there's multiple systems working together to create this iOS, this operating
Yeah.
system, because it's a system. And so in your body, you have biological, spiritual, you have mental. And so all these things kind of come together. And when one thing becomes weak, another becomes weak. When you become spiritually weak, a lot of times your biology falls behind it because you start eating bad, you start consuming bad, your spirit starts to create a negative space for homeostasis. It's not really
It's like
possible.
a haze. It's like a haze or a
Right.
fog you're in. You're just not.
Right. And so your
It's
own
not clear.
senses, your own ability to hear, smell, see, all these things are hindered by your spiritual state, can be hindered. And
Mhm.
it's the same thing biologically. So if you're not taking care of yourself physically, your spirit can over time become weathered by these things. And so when you're going through, um, like we say, urges, whether it's addictions, um, or you're trying to come up with a way of separating the thought that you have and the actual action that you take, because there's always a gap between the thought that you have and the action. So when you think you're hungry, like, oh, I want to go grab this. There's a gap between you actually doing it and
Yeah.
switching your path around.
Mhm.
And so when you're
Yeah.
going into a
Everything begins with a thought,
exactly,
and then it manifests into the physical somehow.
but then once you do it, once you lay it down on the line and you finish, now that that action is put out into the world, now you get to think about that. And that's where the clarity comes because when it was in your head, it was just an idea and a thought. It's like, oh, I'm about to go, I'm about to go do this thing. But then once you actually
Mhm.
do it, it's like, oh, snap. You get the third person perspective that you wouldn't have had, you know, going through
Mhm.
what you're actually going through. And so when you call it a glitch, it's not even really a glitch because we're returning back to home base. This is what you really think. You were just
Well, it's a glitch in the matrix.
yeah, it's a glitch in
The
your
matrix is
temporary
supposed to keep you the matrix is supposed to keep you in that kind of lustful,
right.
that
Yeah, but
lustful state.
yourself, you're working perfectly fine. The matrix
Mhm.
itself is glitching. Underneath
Those
is
moments of clarity are the
yeah,
glitches where
right.
you're no
Same
longer
thing with
programming,
dreams.
like,
Same
it's
thing
like
with
that brief window of clarity where you're, like, mentally detached,
it's the same
from
thing
the
with
matrix and you can see things clearly.
it's like I'm not equating post nut clarity to like meditation and the clarity you receive from that, but these are all ways of going maybe far in one direction, then making a quick shift. You know what I'm saying? I've been running around all day. Let me take 15 minutes to just sit down and think about my not even just think, but try not to think. And that can sometimes form a glitch where it's like, oh snap, it has been 30 minutes and I feel so much better.
Mhm. Right.
And so same thing with like fasting. It's like, oh, this takes a little bit longer time. I have to go through a little bit more withdrawal. But once you reach that second, third day, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed. You feel more free on the inside.
Mhm.
But sometimes with the post nut clarity, it's really more so um, grief that you're experiencing because you're losing a
Mm.
part of yourself in the interact that transaction that you just had.
Mm.
Every time there's a little bit of grief because like you can't get that back. You can't get that energy back.
And that time.
I feel like Yeah, the time is important, but most people don't care about that as much as they do their energy, subconsciously. We waste time all the time, quote unquote
Right.
waste. So the energy is something
So
that
let's dive into that. The grief we feel because we've lost a piece of our soul. Because, anytime you are not just having sex, anytime you touch somebody, anytime you hug somebody, you're
yeah,
sharing a piece of, there's an exchange. There's a
yeah.
that was deep. That was okay. That's grief.
I just it just came out of nowhere, but I'm thinking about it from the sense of like you only have so much of the pie, right? And every time you talk to somebody, you give somebody some advice, you hug, or you love, you show up for somebody, a little crumb, a little whiff, a little, it just comes off. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get some back. Sometimes you get more ingredients to add to your pie, but sometimes you don't. And a lot of times the pie or the ingredients that you're getting don't match what kind of like you got an apple pie and you getting blueberries and you getting raspberries and all this stuff. I mean, that's not the pie that you had. It's not serving your higher self or your best interest. So when you're looking at the reason why we focus on intimacy is because it's a more intensified version. Usually going out
Mhm.
and hanging out with your friends, you don't feel as bad. But when you're going out and hang out with friends that you don't like, that really when
Mhm.
you're going out to do things that don't really serve you, going out and drinking or getting into anything that doesn't serve your highest good. I don't want to judge any action as if it's better or worse than the other, but you know what you're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
for your path. And so you
I mean,
always
and the thing is too, in like ancient times and things like that, and ancient traditions, a lot of the orgasm was seen as hold on one second. I
it
just
was
lost
seen as a
my
tool.
hold on, I'm pause.
Huh? That's what
You can't pause the thing?
And so one of the things that you want to focus on with that is understanding when your cup is being filled and when you're, strictly pouring out of it. And so
Mhm.
that little bit of grief that you feel is when you have a spill. It's one thing to just pour into the homie here, pour into your mama here, your grandma, your kids. But then when you spill and you go through this wave, it's like, oh, I can't get that back tomorrow. It takes time.
Right. And I think, I don't know why that was just such an epiphanal moment that it was grief. It was the loss of like I'm kind of stuck on that just a little bit. But like having an orgasm is not just about, your hormones dropping, but be like because back in the day, orgasm was seen as a release of vital force energy, and so I
It
guess
is.
when that vital force energy is leaving you, you could potentially see that the grief of something has left me. And
Usually, I mean, from a man's perspective, it's life leaving you.
yeah, and especially in esoteric teachings, sexual energy, like you said earlier, is creative energy. I think you may have said that on the last podcast, but sexual energy is creative energy. And the grief could, I guess, be considered like a faint echo of like the soul recognizing that, that potential wasn't directed towards creation, but simply discharging.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and many times too, people, have this illusion of connection. Like many times people think that they need sex to feel connected to someone, but when the act ends, you see the truth of whatever real connection exists, and it's just a bunch of empty calories, and that gap, I can see how that gap can create grief, but we don't recognize it as grief.
Well, we should bring it to empty calories because it's the same thing. I mean, I know how I feel after I eat something that really was empty calories, or how I used to feel eating cereals and snacks and chips and just little things where it's just packed with a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of flavor,
Mhm,
tastes like a lot. Oh, all this, oh, it's spicy, it's sweet, it's crunchy, it's salty, but then there's no fulfillment. I'm hungry in another hour. And
mhm.
so, you can't eat full-fledged, wholesome meals 5 times a day. It's not possible. It's hard enough to find one good meal a day. It's hard enough to find one good woman or one good man or one good friendship, one good relationship. But we have these microwavable popcorn,
Yeah,
cookie cutter
and you
experience.
know what? To me, I also equate this to like it's almost kind of like a microcosm of what happens in like our larger simulation. We chase illusions, we achieve them, and then we feel empty because we mistook programming for purpose. You know, we um that but that grief and post nut clarity isn't just biology. It's like the soul whispering, you've just
Well, so
given
we can
away a
break this
piece of your
down.
energy.
Right.
Will you let it slip unconsciously, or will you learn to wield it? Like, that's your soul kind of. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And every
This
time
was
it
good.
happens, I feel like the post nut clarity, obviously, especially if you've had sex multiple times, then you understand that this is a flash. They mirror, you know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson's like, hey, it's you in the mirror, like this is what you really feel. And
The
so
man in the mirror, yeah.
yeah, it's like, are you gonna stay and cuddle up or are you gonna go home? And so I sent you a meme on Instagram that really broke
Did
this down.
you?
I did. You
Let
can,
me see.
yeah, you
You
can
sent
watch
me a
it.
meme.
I might be able to actually pull it up here on the Zoom if I
Yeah, we need to figure out how we can put stuff on the screen too.
well yeah,
Let me
it
see.
should share,
Because
share
I'm not
screen.
on. I don't check I don't check my Instagram often.
I know, I just know it would have been a
Eventually, I will.
yeah. But it was one of those memes that was just so funny. I saw it today after you had told us about the time for the thing. I think I'm gonna pause this. So after reviewing our supplementary education, how do you feel about post-nut clarity and our conversation? Because I feel like, to break it down a little bit further, like you said, ancient or historically, it was used as a energetic release, a
People
purge
had more respect for
for the
the
experience.
nut back in the day. Yeah.
And what I'm saying now
I
is
mean,
that
for the orgasm, or the spiritual connection in the spirit, what it all really means.
yeah, and I feel like the magnitude of it hasn't changed physically and biologically, but as a collective, we have minimized the experience to, like we said, just a nut. And it's so much more than that. The before, the after, like, and I think the conversation of soul ties is probably
Mhm.
the more recent conversation that has been sparked about the lasting effects of these. But
Mhm.
regardless of the other person, even something as simple as masturbation or watching pornography or different things like that that are so far removed from the human experience. Like, when have we ever just sat around and looked at people naked having sex and not been a part of it? Like, that's kind of weird to just go and watch random people have sex in their room. We wouldn't do that. We do it through a box. We do it through a computer screen. And so when you become so far removed from
Well,
reality,
actually, I do know of a young lady that I used to work with, and she said that when she would sometimes visit hotels, if she like heard the people having sex, she would knock on the door. I
I
asked if she could come in and watch.
I don't this I 100% believe you that whoever you're talking about probably does these things. But what I'm saying is the average person that may engage in something like that will not go and knock on that door
Right.
because it's such a socially awkward thing. Usually people are doing that because they can't find someone to please them, or because they don't actually want to go out into the world and engage or take that risk, whether it's because of infection, getting pregnant, getting, abused or assaulted. These are all real concerns, but that's the world that we've created, where sex is so dangerous now that it's
Mhm.
easier and probably better off for you to just go ahead and have that nut by yourself, even though it's probably not fulfilling you and it's more empty calories than.
Well, yeah, well, if you just need the physical release, it should fulfill you. If you're using sex for some other reason, um, like numbing out, then no, that's not gonna fill you.
Right. But I don't want to say almost everyone, but most all casual um sexual relationships are to feed the person themselves. Yes, you want to ultimately please the other person, but that's because of a lot of times ego, um, namesake, a lot of these things that really have nothing to do with, spiritual fulfillment in that sense. And
Mhm.
that's perfectly okay. That's
Yeah.
that's that's okay. You just need to understand that going into it. And when you have a lot of side effects, because there are side effects from all these things, you need to understand where they're coming from. and that the other
Mhm.
person that you're experiencing may have their own baggage that you now are left with, and you're not able to return that baggage. It is a one-way ticket to your, your realm, your
Yeah.
aura, your energy. And sometimes you got to do a cleanse. You know what I mean? Whether it's a
Right.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can.
We need to cleanse from a lot of things, things that we habitually do all the time. Even if we think that those things are positive, sometimes we need to cleanse and take a break from that too, because it creates a codependence. Like even I mean, not to say that you shouldn't do your spiritual practices or do your yoga or do your things, but sometimes you can get so dependent on those things that you're unable to balance or create equilibrium within yourself without it. And that also too can become a problem. I mean, all of these things should be tools in certain aspects or things that will help you realign, but they shouldn't be crutches for like just every day all day, and I just can't live without it because that's none of that is good.
Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. I was watching a video about this guy who's a big gym guy, big into health and wellness. But he was talking about like, bro, I've been in Europe for the last few weeks and I haven't worked out and I'm perfectly fine. And he was saying that a lot of people that get into this space become so, like you said, dependent on this act of working out. And not that the working out is a problem, but the act of bodybuilding and sculpting yourself into something else because obviously you're not, you're always trying to achieve more. That's perfectly fine, but part of that can lead you to not be content with where you are and just enjoying
Mhm.
the progress that you made. Just go outside, take a
Right.
week off. But not saying that you don't have to be active or just sit in your bed, but you don't have to go and
Right.
post your gym, post your new rep. You don't have to max out every week. You need to let your body, let your mind recalibrate. Find something else to do during that time that could also be more beneficial to not just your physical self, but your spiritual and mental.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key ways to determine whether you're like codependent on certain things or not
Like
is
replacing
that there's
activities, like
always that
substituting them.
yeah, or there's always that desire to achieve more. Like I think you mentioned it last time. One of the ways of numbing out is like hyper fixating on certain things. So like you said with the gym, even with the gym people, they hyper fixate on gym stuff and it's just like this is, it's like
It's not just
okay,
a
is
part
this
of their life, it becomes such a larger part of the pie that things get crowded out.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. So for
Mhm.
me, all I was saying was that he was trying to focus on like, hey, don't not go to Europe because you're worried that you're gonna lose your gains and you're not calorie counting and all these things. Like, bro, there's more to life than that 2 hours you spend in the gym every day. It's okay.
Mhm.
There's more out here. And you should be able to use that time that you spent. And now you got credit. Now you got to PTO. Take your PTO. You don't gotta be at work 365 days out the year. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so even like the
Yeah,
whole
I just wish we could get back to like the ancient arts of really respecting, that sexual act, that sexual exchange. Um, because to me, I feel like the highest form of human activity is creation and not just creating babies, but creating things
procreation,
yeah, procreation, but creating. So and it's
creating
just another one
activity.
of those it's just another one of those NPC loops that people unconsciously, especially modern society, often treat sex like it's just another distraction or dopamine loop. But the grief after an orgasm is almost like the soul remembering that something profound was lost or misused. So um there's like I guess like a technology of consciousness. It can like entrap you in programming or it can free you into like higher dimensions. So like for example, ancient traditions respected as a sacred act because they understood that what we often miss today is that in that moment we hold the energy of creation itself. So if you scatter it, you feel grief. If you channel it, you step closer to the divine or you feel you just feel more accomplished and closer to your higher self. So
It's almost that conversation of like, oh, if you got $1 million, what would you do with it? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you could just go F it off. You can go build a charity. You can build a house. You can start a business. Or you could just not do anything with it. You can leave that $1 million just sitting there and walk away from it. And some people would say you're crazy for that, but it's like, I don't have anything. What if I don't have anything meaningful to use it for? Is that
Right.
wrong? Am I not considered a whole human because I don't want to contribute to this act of capitalism and feeding back into the system and just building something
Mm.
more? Maybe I don't want to. And so people that are abstain from sex or abstain from alcohol, drugs, abstain from some of the normal things that society has said is how we distract ourselves. It's like, why aren't you distracting yourself? Why are you don't have to vacate from this experience that you're having. You don't have to
Why
numb
aren't you
yourself
numbing
out.
out?
Yeah.
We're all numbing out. Why aren't
We're
you
all
numbing
eating
out?
over here. Why aren't you stuffing your face with meatloaf and turkey?
Yeah. I think though that I think in a lot of cases with anything we're doing, I think even with the soul, the fragmenting our souls through various activities and exchanges over time. I think that even some of that can be curtailed just by actually just bringing your awareness to it. I mean, there's nothing saying that you shouldn't go out and have sex if that's what you want to go do, but you want to set your intention just like with anything else. So I don't know, maybe before intimacy you could say something, take a few deep breaths and set the intention and say, you know what, this energy is sacred. May it connect me to the truth and wholeness, not, like, and then you stay present in your body. You don't use it as a tool to numb out. This, like, I feel like that tiny shift can
Oh,
shift you from like
it's a
an
huge shift.
unconscious loop to a conscious act. And that makes the difference in what that outcome is.
And I feel like a lot of people try to critique, I feel like not only esoteric communities, but spiritual people because they feel like it's always about being better than someone else based on your actions. So
Mhm.
because we're doing the same thing, I can't be better than you or you can't be better than me, but it's really about what is it doing for you? I don't care
Mhm.
if you're in college, I don't care if you're making a bunch of money, I don't care if you have this business, if it's not serving you, even our friend at the Atlantic with his business and how he's saying he's trying to get out of that. He's understanding that even though the restaurant game is awesome, even though his own parents or his grandmother, I forgot what he said, got him into it and taught him how to cook and all these things, it's not serving his journey at this point. And so when you understand and reflect and take inventory about what you're feeling and what you actually are desiring, a lot of times it changes. And so even if you're having relations with someone that you may have a friendship connection with, it may even be deeper than that. You have to take inventory on both sides and kind of reevaluate. You know what I'm saying? So taking that little 15 minutes, 15 seconds before you do something intimate can reshift, and you may have some
Mhm.
pre-nut clarity because that's a thing too.
Yeah.
Pre-nut clarity is like, when you first start, it's like, oh, I shouldn't even like, no.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I feel like if you just take a few deep breaths before you do it, because like even like if I recall correctly, some of the ancient like I don't know tantric traditions, there's a lot of things um that you do before you really get into something. And if you're really preparing, if you're really consciously in the moment, you're not going to make those types of mistakes in picking the wrong person or exchanging energy with the wrong person or whatever you want to call it. And then you can use that sexual exchange for alchemy. It's almost like recycling, I don't know, recycling orgasmic energy into the body and the spirit instead of losing it outward. You need to set the intention that you want to keep that because you don't want to continue to frag. And maybe that'll be, let me write that down, that may be a good topic. Soul fragmentation might be a good
We
um
talk about the different forms and how it happens.
yeah, the different forms of soul fragmentation. And in some traditions, some religious traditions and like even some Taoist practices, they believe that there is a finite, even though like they say men can, oh, they can have babies, they can do all this and that till the end of
You only
time,
have so
whatever,
much
fine.
chi.
But yeah, but there is a finite amount of life force energy that we have, within the body.
Yeah,
So
sure.
eventually that's going to run out.
And we can refer to it. We had this conversation. I can't remember what it was about. It was about the lithium battery versus something else. And we were talking about how your activities throughout the day can either force you to have to recharge or you can become a generator. And so
Hmm.
our bodies are a little bit of both. You know what I mean? It's the idea of like a car. Yes, it needs a battery to get started, but once it gets going, that alternator keeps that energy flowing to the battery so you stay charged. But then when you're not
Mhm.
driving, and if you let your car sit for a long time, that battery drains down and it can no longer hold as much capacity. And so sometimes I feel like you're saying, there needs to be a recharging, because we naturally recharge ourselves through rest, through grounding, through nature, when we eat the right things, even through fasting, we recharge as we become we have more access to the energy that was already in our bodies, because it takes energy to do anything, to
Mhm.
move a fluid through our body, to move our actual physical skeleton, to have ideas and thoughts. Your brain requires glucose and sugar to send these
Mhm.
electrochemical signals back and forth. For you to receive memories and try to actually have access to these things that are considered, when people say, you can't take away what's in here. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Alzheimer's is a real thing. Dementia is a real thing. All these neurological or neural, because there's neurodivergent, but then there's also neurodegenerative. Um, when you're not generating as much neurological tissue anymore, that is what's happening. And so people think that you just are just born and then you just go down. Like, no, there's a bell curve that happens where you reach, development at 25 or so and so. And a lot of times before we even reach that point, there's so much exhaustion that happens neurologically, especially with these dopamine dumps that we talk about. And so whether it's food, sex, entertainment, you got to recharge. You got to take time back. You got to take your
Yeah.
your energy back. And so
Yeah.
I feel like that's where we can
And I
kind
think just sometimes just having these open conversations and really like understanding what like and that's the whole point of the book, understanding the truth of our existence, how we're here, what we're doing, how we're existing, how things are flowing. And I feel like if you oh, that's one thing I want to I almost lost my train of thought. What I wanted to tie it to was the in the book we talk a lot about language and the language programming. And we talk about I think there's a section I'd have to find it. I should have found it beforehand, but the thought just came to me. But anyway, so I'll just complete the thought. But basically, somewhere in there, I talk about how when our actions and the things that we're doing either make us feel guilty or we don't like it, we'll just name it something else. We'll call it something else. So then we're not, it kind of creates that fog of what it actually is. So, like, for example, in other languages, and in the French language, since you speak French fluently, you can probably vouch for this. But the French language, the word orgasm is actually la petite mort, which mort means death. It means the little death. And if we reference things
how
as
did I
they
not know that?
are, we would have more knowledge, recognition, and awareness of what we're doing. We probably would have more self-control. But when they created, I don't know, the English, like whatever they did with the English language, it just
Not to
uh
mention just
they
the
just
English
made up a
language.
lot of words that don't allow us to know what it is that we're doing, saying, and don't allow us to recognize the meaning of those words as we're using them, if that makes sense.
For example, I would say, you know how they say laughter is feeding the soul, or laughter is one of the best ways to live a long time. What does
Mhm.
like the new generation say about laughter? I'm dead. You know what I mean? I'm rolling on the floor. There's so many ways that the English language has been co-opted by culture in a way to change something that's good to make it sound bad, and change something bad to make it sound good. To
It's like
where,
Bizarro World. It's like
yeah,
it's the phenomenon that happens. I think where do I talk about this in the book? But it's basically how every so often the poles shift. Things like and not just the poles on the planet shift, everything shift. It's like Bizarro World. Words mean the opposite of what they used to mean, and you have to catch up with that. I'm gonna make a note. We're gonna develop that next time
yeah,
because language is what drives everything.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, nothing moves without nothing moves in this world without a label and an assigned sound, a sonic frequency that is attached to that item. And
yeah.
so the petite mort, the little death, because it's like if you're gonna create a little life, a little sperm cell, a little egg are gonna come together and fertilize. There gotta be a little death somewhere. Whether it's you gotta pass out after, whether it's because you sweating everything out, you know what I'm saying, you tired. Now your reproductive organs, because we have whole organs dedicated to this. You know what I mean?
A
So
large portion, and even like with the female body, a large portion of the female body on the inside is dedicated to reproduction.
and being able to expand, because once you have that little death, now we gotta have some little life. And that life becomes very big, very fast. And so your organs, not even just the organs that are
That's a
reproductive.
little death to the little life.
Yes, that's my analogy. That's why there's always a give and take with these things. And so that's the final message I feel like I want to leave everybody with. There is no give without take. You cannot move a rope in one direction without it becoming absent from where it became from. Like if you have something moving in space, it's there's going to be a lack somewhere else. And so you can't just be shooting off. You can't be shooting up the club everywhere thinking that the club ain't
Mhm.
going to shoot you back.
Yeah. So I think all I would say for those that because this is new to me, this concept.
That's
I
why I
do
think this is a
understand it.
perfect topic for us to go through, because you are completely foreign and ignorant to this concept.
Yeah, but I do think that because I do understand energy though, that I do understand.
Oh, it is.
So I think that, I think what people should do if they're battling with this thing or want to use it to their advantage or maybe shift something because very small shifts in behavior can make huge shifts in your overall life or whatever's going on. And I just feel like so after the nut, instead of
Mindful
like what most
nuts.
people do, most people will sit up, they'll grab the what do people do after that? They grab their phone, they sit, some people just cuddle, whatever. Some people go smoke a cigarette, some people whatever. But in that moment, when you finish, just sit for 2 or 3 minutes in silence and ask yourself, because I'm big on questions. Ask yourself, what did I release and what did I gain? And then, I mean, most people may or may not. I mean, if you're in post nut clarity, you're probably in a precarious situation. You probably don't have your journal with you. But if you can make it note, journal a few
Take
words.
your
If
journal to the
you
booty club. Take your journal to the
take
booty
your
club.
journal, if you can, even one sentence. Yeah, being serious now, but even one sentence will lock in your awareness. And then this can help transform orgasms from being like this numbing loop into a mirror of truth. Instead of grief of losing a piece, you'll cultivate gratitude for redirecting that energy inward. And then, and over time, the act itself becomes a path of innerstanding and
Don't
sovereignty,
take your journal. Don't take your journal.
or just
Take,
write something down when you can.
take the
But,
elephant in the mother flipping room. We got space. Hold on. We got space. Oh, it's gonna blur me out. But we got space in the book for you to write down your post. We need a post nut.
oh yeah, just keep the book with you at all times, and
Y'all should
then
talk about it after, you
if
know.
you're gonna make bad decisions, just read a book. Like kind of like how when people are gonna make bad decisions, they sit down and read the Bible. They're like, oh, let me read my Bible. Keep this book. Read, keep this book. For, look at things, read things, like do something.
How would the ancestors feel about whatever you're doing right now? That's the question. All right. Do they have time to have all this
I
post?
used to wonder that as a kid. I used to be really creeped out as a kid and even averse to certain activities because I used to wonder like can like dead people can like the ancestors can they see us down here doing what we're doing? Like are they up there judging us? Are they watching us have sex? Are they watching it? Like I used to be really weirded out about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
but thank y'all for joining us today. Thank y'all for going on this expose, this expedition through our thoughts and ideas. And don't forget about the elephant in the room. This is not understanding the truth of our existence. I wish we had like a Y with a pot with the parentheses around the R, because this is your existence is our existence. What you're
Yeah.
going through is what I'm going through, is what we're going through. Not
Mhm.
just human to human, but you know, dogs, cat,
Right.
chickens, ducks, all that in between. What a many
Yeah,
friends.
and the thing is, and that's something I do discuss in the book too about how we
We're
are
so
we are
similar.
constantly, I think we're constantly in a state of becoming. So until we have elevated above some of these lower base, um, lower vibrational frequencies, we're not really Homo sapiens. So we need to, yeah, yeah, we need to figure out how to find that balance. And what were you just saying? I just lost my whole train of thought.
About what exactly?
I
I
don't know,
was
pause and rewind.
I was just saying that I feel like your existence is our existence, and not just humans, but all other organisms. We're experiencing a lot of the same things.
Oh, you were talking about dogs. I would say
Yeah.
about instinct. So my thing is, thank you. So, um, we're supposed to be wise and learned humans. So we need to learn about ourselves so that we're not out here operating on instinct like a bunch of dogs, just, horny,
Mm, I feel like we're in a worse position than them almost because it's not instinct that's taking over. Instinct is where we started. Now we're at a point where the Enkidu programming and the external inputs, whether it's from social media, whether it's from the
Mhm.
powers that be, the food, the synthetic inputs that they're putting into the world, that's what's clouding our mind more than our instincts. Our instincts are being used and they're used as a tool because we've studied biology. We understand how the human body works. We understand how a lot of systems work. And so the people that know that, for example, food chemists, are able to design things that unlock certain receptors in our bodies to make us do things that we don't want to do. So our
Yeah.
instinct is just going outside to go eat something colorful. But in our now world, we're going to the gas station to buy a colorful bag of something, even though the inside is not very colorful. They're plain,
Hmm.
it's nasty, and it's not good
Well,
for us.
and I just meant that when you're in that fog just
Yeah.
before sex, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That fog.
I'm just saying that the fog is
Um,
intensified by all the nonsense that we have to be exposed to. It's not just you go outside and you see a beautiful person that you're attracted to. It's that you go on your phone and as soon as you wake up, you're being exposed to all these different things. So you have to reclaim your, yourself with every second of the day. And I don't want to, be doom and gloom about it, but we just got to raise awareness because it's not your fault. It's not just your fault for experiencing these things, you're experiencing all these urges. There's a real system that has been created
right.
to harness your energy. And that's what it is. I want you to focus on the fact that your energy is always being harvested by your job, your computer, your phone.
We didn't even get on the job. Let's not even.
We're not going to do that today, but a
We're not
lot of
gonna do
things
that
stopped
today.
us before we came here today. But we said we're still going to make this episode for you, for me, and all the people across the world. So we're
And we
going
just
to
have
go
to
with
get
that.
into doing it more. The show will get better, get
Yeah,
better. We just have to get out,
a little bit nonsense.
I have to follow the same advice that I give to other people about don't worry about what it looks like, how perfect it is. Like I am mortified by how many times I come on here and say and like, just but
I didn't
that'll
hear you
just
say
have to get
not
better.
once today, though. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
did too. I did, but it was not as bad. Yes, but it
Yeah.
was not as bad. I
But it's
I
different when you say and you're actually within a large, like you're a gap of thought versus just like you're talking fast and the is just weaved in there. But
yeah.
thank y'all. This is a great
Anyway, thank
episode.
y'all. Namaste, light and love. Um,
Peace and hair
but
grease.
for to
One for the road. All right.
we'll talk about some stuff next week.
Yes.
Love y'all.
Peace and hair grease.
Oh, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And don't forget to get a copy of this.
Oh, that too. Yeah, the book, yay, and the a link for the book on Amazon, or if you would like a copy of Amazon, or if you'd like a signed copy from our personal website. The link and description will be below in the description box below this video.
Yes. The redpillbook.com. Don't
And
miss
we are
out.
sending you so much light and love. See you next time on the next video.